Suit up, strap in, warm the tires, and leave on yellow. Time for the MitsuTimes podcast, presented by MitsuTimes.org, the home of the fastest Mitsubishi cars. With your host, Josh.
Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Josh from MitsuTimes. Today we have Chris and Nick from Revenge Performance. We're going to do another bonus episode. We're going to do a little recap on their race week experience. I've never done a drag and drive event, so maybe you guys could kind of start with that. Anybody who doesn't really know how it works.
Yeah, drag and drives are becoming more popular last few years. There's always been the Hot Rod Drag Week. I think that's been going on probably the longest as anybody has done it. And so there's other ones like Rocky Mountain Race Week, and they're putting on Sick Week now, and they're even coming up with something called Death Race, which is going to be pretty cool. Tom Bailey's putting on Death Race. It's going to be in Death Valley, and he expects a lot of failures just due to the heat. They're going through in November, but even then I think he's thinking it's going to be a lot of cars can't take the drive. And so kind of how we came about with being on them is Eric Englert has been racing his LS Power 3000 GT at them for a long time. And we tried getting in to Rocky Mountain Race Week 1.0, and I've just never been able to get in on the sign-up, basically. It's such a popular event, you just can't really get in. You can get on the waiting list, but we've just never been high enough up. And, halftime I'm sleeping when they're signing up the first time. It might be at 8 a.m. on a Saturday or something in our time zone. Tried to get signed up for Sick Week this year too, and I even had the pre-registration link because we expressed interest, and I don't know what happened, but I just spaced out for like an hour and missed it again. So we're just trying to get in on those. But Eric was talking about the event and how much fun it was, and I just got intrigued. And back then we were a really tiny company, just starting out. I think this was like in 2018 or something similar. We went to Rocky Mountain Race Week 2.0, which they had put on because Hot Rod had canceled Drag Week that year due to COVID restrictions.
Okay.
And because that was like, I don't remember if it was 19 or going into 20, but that was like the very first when COVID was like really, really bad. And everybody had no idea, how many people were going to get sick and, get it worse, things like that from that. But, however you feel about it, Rocky Mountain Race Week decided to put on a second event for the people that would have went to Hot Rod Drag Week to participate, still be able to do it, And so, they were being careful and stuff, but, it was also kind of sort of at your own risk. And so if you didn't feel comfortable, then you just stayed home, So we signed up for 2.0, and we've been going to 2.0 now for 3 years. So we've made every single 2.0. As long as we're able, I'm going to make every single 2.0. They're starting to change that from Rocky Mountain Race Week to just Race Week because the 2.0 is actually more in Oklahoma and Texas and Kansas. They are talking about actually running one with the same route as 1.0 next year in September. I don't know where that's going to go yet, but that'd be really cool because I love the mountains. Colorado's one of my kind of favorite vacation spots.
Yeah, definitely.
I haven't got out there for like 10 or 15 years though, so it'd be really cool to ride the cars through the mountains. And it's hard on cars, which is kind of good. You want some challenge. So the way these events work is you have a number of tracks you need to make. Say it's 4 or 5 tracks. And then there'll be a number of driving days and things like that. So basically you show up at the first place, which on 2.0 was in Noble, Oklahoma this year at Thunder Valley, which they're actually having an event there this weekend. The King of the Open Road, which one of the big time supporters of these race weeks, Jared Holt is putting on this weekend, so that's really cool too. Wish we could have made that, but with the kind of obligations we got around here, I just couldn't get anything ready for that. So you show up, you get teched. It's an HRA tech, so you need to read the rules and make sure your car is going to be okay. They just want to make sure everybody's safe and having a good time, and if you're running fast enough, you need roll cages and eventually parachutes and stuff like that too. But once you pass that, they start racing at like 3 p.m. that day. And then you race till 10 o'clock. And so there's a lot of cars. There's probably 300 this year. So you'll probably get 3, 4, 5, 6 runs in if you really want to. A lot of people don't, end up running that much because you have a long week ahead of you. And, if you're not making, big improvements and stuff, there's just not that much reason to go keep beating on your stuff. aside from just having fun. But you race, and this year we took a whole new setup again, brand new engine, 3.4, all the billet goodies from Ray Pampina, Oliver rods, Ross pistons, all that good stuff. We run the twin 3576s on E85, and it was all brand new. We switched to Haltech this year, so we had no experience tuning Haltech. We were running AEM Series 2. So now we're on the Elite 2500, drive-by-wire, different brake setup. I mean, just about everything we could have changed on the car was completely different. Yeah, we switched to a lighter Willwood brake this year, which we're also going to be able to offer for the 3000 BT and Stealth with the custom machine hats that you need and everything like that out of the box. So you can get really solid brake setup, in the low 4-digit money-wise. I mean, it's going to be kind of a budget changer for a lot of people because some people, you're used to paying $2,000, $2,500, $3,000 for other type of brands and things. I think this is going to be a lot more affordable. With the nature of the event, I'm always trying to come up with parts that are more universal. And so now you can get a caliper from Willwood. It's the same caliper, four-piston caliper they run on tons of stuff. And so you can get spare parts and things like that. If you're running something really odd, or even the original Mitsubishi calipers are extremely hard to get now.
Yeah,
and so if you have a problem, you could be done. So you race, and then the next day you travel to the next track. And sometimes there are drive days. Just all you do is drive. It depends on how far it is. But I mean, there's times where we're going 350 miles. All these race cars, like we probably have a pretty dang street-oriented car versus a lot of that stuff there. There's some real cars there. There's stuff running 6-second quarter miles,
right?
Towing big trailers.
Cletus and the mullet.
Yeah, exactly. He does that stuff, and that's kind of what got us onto it too. Was watching Cletus's channel. Anytime I need a little inspiration, kind of put that on. Recently, they won the World Cup finals, and I mean, just seeing his team, how happy they were, and I just think Cletus must be a great leader, or Garrett, because I've never seen him pass the buck on anything. So it's always he'll say, "Oh, I put that part in wrong," or I've never seen him say somebody made a mistake, and I just think that's the way to lead. And if you be like, "Oh, well, George put that cable on there or whatever," that's just the wrong way to do things. Even if he did do that, you don't have to lead with that when you're telling the public what's going on with the car.
Right.
So I really like how he does with that, and you can tell everybody there has a lot of faith that it's okay to make mistakes. I didn't really mean to do a leadership talk here today, but that's kind of how I like to do things too. It's like if you don't make an environment where it's okay to make mistakes, nobody's going to try anything.
Yeah, for sure.
And so everybody's going to backstab each other and everything else. But you drive to the tracks, and so these are not going down the interstate the whole time, A to B type of driving. Sure. You have checkpoints. There's usually 2, 3, 4 checkpoints that you have to go, taking the assigned route. And there's like roundabouts you have to go through, and like those guys in 1320 video are taking pictures of you going around the roundabouts twice. If you don't do that stuff, you're disqualified.
Wow.
And so a lot of times we're taking like Route 66, which is really cool. Bunch of cool things there to see. We stopped at really stuff from. There was a huge soda place. They got like this soda bottle. You can check it out on our Instagram. It's got to be 100 feet tall soda bottle, and they have just about every boutique soda inside there you can imagine. And you can sit down there and take a break after a long day.
That's awesome.
So you basically just you have to build a car that's going to last and be consistent and be able to run. As you race, you drive maybe 7, 8, 9, 10 hours if nothing goes wrong. And so and then you race again, the same day, your drive day. And so we're racing at night for the most part, depending, if you get there early, the sun's still up, but a lot of times you're racing at night. And which I like because some of the events you kind of travel at night. I'm not an old codger or anything, but I'd prefer to drive during the day when it's possible.
Yeah, definitely.
It's safer. There's less deer. And the nice thing is if you wreck your stuff, don't wreck, but if you damage your equipment at the track at night, you're not driving. Basically you might be 30 minutes from your hotel or whatever. And so you can just leave it there. You're not just caught out somewhere. So you do that for 4 or 5 days. And each night you try to run basically there's some options. You can run as fast as you want in different classes, with different tire restrictions, weight restrictions, or you can run in the index classes, which is kind of what we do. So in index classes, they have all the way from the 14 class down to, I think, 9. And so you don't have to have a ridiculously fast car to do it. You can go into the 14 class and maybe you got a 13-second car, but you're not thinking it's going to do that every single day. And so you go to the 14 and then you can, slow it down enough to try to get that 14.0, whatever you want to do. So we've run some 10s at the event. This year we weren't so fortunate. I'll get into that in a minute. But I really encourage everybody to do these events because it just has restored my love in driving the car. Trailering a car to an event and running it and stuff like that's really cool. But it's nothing like spending all day for a week in your car. And maybe your car's comfortable, maybe it's not. So we did last year, no AC or anything like that, which, again, we have one of the more comfortable cars because it's, got exhaust and roll up windows and comfortable seats, but it's a challenge still. And so for some of the guys running 6s every day, it's just got to take some willpower to really do that and make the traveling. And some of these guys are changing their setups a little bit when they get to the track, so they're putting like new tires on. There's one guy that changes his supercharger when he gets to the track, so they got a street supercharger, and that's just about the loudest Mustang I ever heard. So it's I think it run like 7s, didn't it? It's something ridiculous. Probably around 6 in its life. But so this year we kind of like normal. I changed way too many things and didn't account for enough time. We went from a roll bar to a 8-point cage, and the Stealth and 3000 GT are not really conducive to putting a cage in because the A-pillar is really close to your head, even normally in stock configuration. And I wanted to leave all the plastics in and the dash and everything, and so it took a long time to get enough compound bends to get the down bars from the main hoop to the dash bar and stuff like that. So we spent a long time doing that, a lot of hours. We ended up getting a little tube bender and bending up a lot of the tubes because really nothing off the shelf would do quite what we wanted to. Finally got the car done. New motor. Okay, we had the whole motor in the car, and then Ray got our engine done early, so I took the weaker motor out and put the stronger one in, but then that meant taking the whole engine back out again too. And so, which we're getting pretty good at, but it still sets you back. And so we did all that, got it running, had a ton of problems with wiring, trying to get the Haltech to control the transmission. There was absolutely nothing wrong with the Haltech. Ended up being we had a speed selector sensor on the trans. It was bad. So it wasn't knowing when you were putting it in drive correctly. And it would like 9 times out of 10, but sometimes it wouldn't. And so that was really causing us to chase our tails. We put a new sensor on that, got the Haltech controlling the transmission, everything. Had like one first gear pull. One. When we packed the car up, trailered out to Oklahoma to run the races and stuff.
Oh, man.
So we had basically a good guess at a tune on the Haltech. Trans was brand new, didn't know if it worked, et cetera, et cetera. Not excuses. It's just I'm setting the stage here, what's going on. Get to the track. Accidentally launched the car in second because there's a feature in Haltech where you can launch and spool the turbos up in second, and then it'll shift to first immediately when you let off the brake or the button. And because there's no trans brake for these transmissions, and so you got to use your foot brake, which is quite a bit more challenging to get all together. Or even it's just harder to spool turbos with foot brake too. We ran something really silly, like a 12.6 at 127 on like 19 pounds of boost, which is really low for this setup. But trap speed was there for that amount of boost. That's really good actually. And the car weighs like 3,600. It's not any kind of lightweight race car, so it's pretty good. And then the next run was a mess because we had fouled some spark plugs, testing out the two-step in the pits. And then we put together, I don't know, it was an 11.4, I think, at 122 or something like that. And we're like, okay, well, it's not quite the 10s we're wanting to run this week, but we got a long week ahead of us. Having our 11.4 already is a pretty good sign. I know we can chop a ton of time off that without really doing hardly anything.
Yeah.
So next day, we're driving to Ennis, Texas, which is a long drive, and there's some gradual hills the whole way. We're pulling a little motorcycle trailer for the first time, and we don't have a lockup converter or anything like that. And so it's getting pretty hot. And so we didn't really account that it would get this hot just pulling this lightweight trailer, but it did. And just about the time we got to Denton at Buc-ee's there, one of the checkpoints, we just getting real hot. And so we changed the transmission fluid in the parking lot, had a bunch of material in it.
Oh.
And so we had cooked the trans. Later we found out that the flex plate was hitting our engine mounting plate and tore up the torque converter. And so that's what kind of started all this bad stuff with the transmission. But we got that back together. I don't know, we might have got another 10 miles and we had no drive. So luckily we were able to pull off into a parking lot, and my crew had to run back and get our trailer from Oklahoma City because we're not going anywhere, we don't have like a complete spare transmission or something in there to do that. So those champs went back to Oklahoma City and drove all the way back that same day. We'd already been in the car all day, Brett and I, and luckily my brother and Hunter, one of our other guys working here, had taken Nick's Audi to do race week. And so we had some backup, which, we would not have them help us if we were still in competition, but basically we consider ourselves kind of out of competition at this point. But we knew that we were going to be at Tulsa for 2 days straight. And so I'm like, guys, let's make the best of this. Instead of just putting our heads in the sand, going home, let's rebuild this transmission in the parking lot. We're a transmission place. We can do that. So we got some parts overnighted from Kigley. Kigley Racing was great. Nice. Got us some new clutches. And we rebuilt that transmission in the parking lot at Tulsa, which if you've ever taken a trans out on one of these things, it's time consuming. It's all-wheel drive, and you got to take all front axles out and everything, and downpipe, and part of the suspension, and
it's not like you had a lift or anything.
No, we were just on jack stands. Everybody was super awesome at the track. There was a couple tools we had forgotten, basically, and everybody just helped us out. So we just spent the rest of that day, I think, taking the trans out. We got it out. And then the following morning, our parts came in. We built that trans in the parking lot, put it back in, drove around the pit lanes and stuff, and on the return road a little bit. Seemed okay. Second gear was a little cranky. We had some really hot spots on the second gear shell, so I didn't think that was going to be great. Not like we had a lathe there.
Right.
So yeah, Hunter was just polishing that with some Scotch-Brite just by hand. And so that didn't, that wasn't as good as if you had the right equipment or a new shell, so that sort of stuff. But anyway, we're like, okay, we're doing good. Car moves, stuff like that. We're going to go follow the route today, which is on Route 66. Really cool sights to see. And we trailered the car because we really didn't have enough drivers to put 2 people in the truck and Nick's car and my car. And we're just like, I don't want to take big chances with this. We built this transmission in the parking lot. It was, really dirty, all full of, which turned out to be a torque converter material, but yeah, all full of material. And we're at one of the museums on Route 66, which is an awesome place. They have a Chip Foose car there that's like $2 million car.
Nice.
Whole bunch of cool stuff, Jaguars and Corvettes and 55 Chevys, and just really stuff that's awesome to see. And we're having a good time in there, man. You think we'd turn things around for the week, right? And some fine gentleman comes and says, hey, one of you guys got the white F-250 out there? And I'm like, yeah, that's us. I thought he was going to give us a hard time for trailering the car,
Yeah.
He's like, somebody's trying to steal your car. I'm like, what? No. I was like, yeah, somebody's trying to steal your car. And so I kind of look around to my guys. I'm like, okay, let's go see what's going on at least. It sounds like it's made up, but it wasn't. So somebody had cut the straps on our trailer that had the car on it and tried rolling the car back. They broke both the glass out of the passenger side, the door and the rear part of it. And they put my race helmet on and beat the car with their head.
Oh my
and put a huge dent in the roof. And they had blood spots all over the car where he cut himself. And luckily, this gentleman ran him off before the guy had pushed the car completely off the trailer and hung it up, because there's no way it would have rolled off the trailer. He didn't have the ramps positioned. But he did have it in neutral and the e-brake unset. And yeah, this is horrible. I was pretty bent out of shape about it,
Yeah, I don't blame you.
I mean, the car means a lot to me. I've had this thing forever, and it's kind of what started this business. And It's not just a car anymore. If it was my pickup, I'd be like, well, that sucks, but
Right.
you can get it fixed. So there's a million of them. Like, it's not my pickup. They only made 500 of these damn things that year, and it's just like, I can't stand the thought of that getting beat up like that. And it just hurt me to see it like hurt. It was like seeing a pet get hurt.
For sure.
And
Yeah.
so luckily that guy had called the cops so fast that the cops immediately found the guy. He was in a stolen car already. He was already wanted on other criminal acts that took place earlier in the day. They had to pit maneuver him off the road, and as far as I know, he's currently in jail. So luckily they immediately caught the guy. He had stolen one car and tried to steal another car and some other stuff that I probably shouldn't mention he was up to that day. So I think that he was not in a good state of mind or something. I do hope the guy gets help, but I'm pretty not happy he decided to do that. It was just completely senseless. 10 minutes of violence, and I got thousands of dollars of damage to this car, and just the negative
just for
memories
no
of all
reason.
that.
Yeah.
No reason. He could have never took it. Didn't have keys in it or anything. Don't think he was equipped to hotwire the car or anything. But thank God he didn't. I mean, I can't imagine a guy in that state of mind, going over 100 miles an hour down the road with a car, and there's no telling what could have happened. I'm really glad somebody didn't get hurt.
Yeah.
So some really awesome people. The guy that caught the guy, run him off. His dad drove over there and loaned us some straps because, the guy had cut all of our trailer straps. And so we got the car strapped and we waited for the police and did all the reporting on that. And said we wanted to press charges and all that. And not necessarily as punishment, but just because I don't want this guy doing this to somebody else, basically.
For sure, yeah.
Or something worse. There's no telling. Not like I physically got harmed. So finally recovered from that, and we're like, Jared Holt's out here. Let's see if he's got some glass. The organizers, June from the race, immediately had texted me and heard about it right away because there was 50 people there from the races in the parking lot. It wasn't like we were in some backwoods where no one was at.
Right, it was one of the
really
checkpoints.
Crazy. Yeah, it was a major checkpoint, and so she found out before I had a chance to even talk to anybody. And I'm like, hey, if there's anything you do, let us race tomorrow. We might not have any glass. And we put this transmission together. Team worked 2 days straight trying to get this all done. And I'd hate to just go home now,
Yeah, definitely.
And she's like, yeah, absolutely. We'll get to work. We'll find somebody to loan you a helmet, etc. Because I didn't want my helmet back. He'd been bleeding on it.
Yeah.
So.
Don't want to take that chance.
No, well, it's just gross anyway. It's like somebody putting your underwear on, and you're not going to wear them after that. I don't think, at least in most circumstances. So we go to Jared Holt's house. Got a lovely property. He's graciously welcomed onto his property, and he had a '94 yellow Stealth that was totally way past beyond saving. They'd already cut the floor out of it and everything.
Oh wow!
And so we get all the glass out of it, and you should have seen Brent there. We're in this car in the weeds that has no floor. It's dark, okay, because I don't know, it's like 8 o'clock or whatever. And he just jumped in the back of that car, and I swear he had that rear quarter window out in 10 minutes. I don't even know how. I couldn't get it out that fast when I was here at the shop. And he just dived behind this, it had power seats that you couldn't move and everything. He's just getting in there. It was crazy. Got this window out without breaking it, and they're glued in. So, I have no idea how he got that thing out of there. But he did. And so I worked on getting the side glass out of the door, which is kind of complicated with all the little doodads you got to take out. Got that out. So next day, we get to the track, Thunder Valley again, I think. And we start putting glass in. 1320 comes and does an interview with me because they were like, if anybody's got a crazy story,
Right.
Let's hear it. And so I told them my crazy story. You can probably find that on YouTube too. And we put the glass in the door, and we just taped over the rear C thing because it's got to be glued in and everything. We're going to do that at the track. I ended up doing it here, and it took me like 3 hours to get it right, so it's not something I wanted to mess with. And Central Speed and Supply, I want to do a shout out. They loaned me a brand new helmet for free, and got us to run. And so got all that good. We were still playing with some of the transmission settings. Second gear still felt like crap. Didn't know what I was going to do. So we turned the boost up. I'm like, hey, we're going to finish the week, do a run here. Because we were out of competition, but they allowed kind of everybody to run later in the evening, and they had a little bit of extra time. Go out, get on the two-step for a long time, get up like 12 pounds of boost, which isn't a ton, but should launch pretty good. And take off, and I'm like, this is not making any boost. It doesn't feel that fast. Go through it, though, running fine, and we ran like 11.6, 120 or something. But it turns out that on the two-step, we'd melted one of those push lock connectors on the wastegate, and it was just running 15 pounds the whole time, and so it had no boost, basically. And so we're switching that to AN lines, and I don't know what got me on those push lock fittings, but they don't work if they're within like 4 inches of anything hot.
Oh, wow.
So don't do it, I tell you. Silicone hoses are better. Like, they'll take heat way better, even if you don't want to do AN lines.
That's crazy.
I know all the fittings and stuff out of. Well, I looked it up, and they're rated for like 170 degrees. So it's like, even under the hood, it's hotter than they're supposed to be.
I was going to say, for as much as they cost, you would think.
Well, we picked up some Vibrant. We're a dealer for Vibrant, so we did Vibrant. They have Teflon lines that are rated like for 480, so that's what we did. So we got 3 times the temperature overhead. So I think that's going to hold. If that doesn't work, we'll just go to a hard line. But yeah, that was pretty much it. I mean, you just make a lot of memories on these events, and there's nothing on the car that can't be fixed. Insurance is going to help out a little bit. It's hard to photograph some of the damage, and so when it actually does get to the body shop, I'm not sure what sort of out-of-pocket expense we're going to have on that.
Right.
But there's a couple little dings where it was just like leaning over the driver door to get in that I just can't really convince them exist. And so we'll see what happens. But we've been needing the hood painted too. It's like a different white, and so we're going to take care of it, get it back to better than it was, and we're going to dyno the car this year and work out all these kinks. And hopefully come back and finally get that 9 that I've been wanting next year. And if we can run 9 every day, I mean, that'd be like nothing compared to what some of these guys out there are doing. But that'd be like a lifetime achievement for me. So
yeah, I mean, especially for the 3S platform.
Yeah, but that's really about it. I don't know. I know it's a long story, but I want to do a shout out too to Precision Torque Converter. I told them exactly what happened to this torque converter, and they are warrantying it.
Wow.
And I would have paid gladly, but they're warrantying this converter, completely rebuilding it, putting a new front cover on it because they have a newer style that's 3 pounds lighter for free. And so I know I keep plugging things, but we do sell their products as well. But that's because I really stand behind them. And so they stand behind their product.
It sounds like they stand behind their products.
Yeah, so if you need a precision converter for any platform, we may not have them on the website, but we can get them for you. And we'll start to slowly get some of their stuff on our website too.
Heck yeah. Well, I mean, I keep seeing how popular these races are getting, and hearing a story like that, and just, I know it wasn't a happy story, but definitely, like you said, making memories out there. A race that you expect to, just kind of go out and do. So that's pretty awesome.
Well, I mean, life's what you do, what you make it, right? Bad stuff happens to everybody. You can either think that sucks or be like, here's what we can do better. Or, it still was a great time. I got to bond with our team a lot better. Eating out and just hanging out in the track and meeting all these people and all these great cars. There may have been some very nice woman who saw me very upset about my car that brought me a cold snack. So
there you go.
I mean, that kind of stuff really is for every person that's giving you problems. Like this one fellow that hurt my car, there's 100 that are great.
Yeah.
And so you just got to have a positive outlook, and otherwise we'd all just build a fortress and hide in it all day.
Exactly. Or build a bunker. At least now you can build a transmission in the parking lot too. Yeah, and
I've taken them out of these cars a million times, but we figured out some more stuff we need to pack, spare clutches and stuff.
Go, yeah.
And I actually got a spare torque converter. Not that we had a product caused failure, but if we do have a trans failure, I'd rather switch converters because it's going to be full of junk. So
you might as well if you got the whole thing out.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, I don't know if you have any other questions, but make one of these events. They're holding them all over the country. They got them in the Midwest. They got them in Florida. They got them in the. Going to be one in the West now. There's one in the Rockies. I wouldn't be surprised if you can't really go 2 or 3 states over anywhere in the country soon, and there'll be an event like this.
Right.
And I can't speak for the atmosphere at any of the other ones, but at Rocky Mountain Race Week or Race Week, it's pretty laid back. Everybody, really helpful. Nobody's competitive to the point where they're not helping everybody out, and I think that's pretty much racing in general. But I haven't been to every place, so I can't speak for that. But
right.
I think if you put that kind of energy out, you're going to get it back. So just be a good guy.
Definitely.
Or gal.
That's awesome, Chris. Well, I appreciate you coming on and telling your story. I hope that people get a good kick out of it and, hopefully get out to one of these events. Yeah.
I mean, some people just go buy an S10 or something and run it. You don't have to have something crazy. It doesn't have to be extremely expensive. Any vacation is going to be expensive, but you can do one of these on a budget and you can have a great time. I think the entry fee is like $400 and you get access to 5 days of racing,
right?
T-shirts, stickers.
And at least for this event, some of the best tracks at least for this event, some of the best tracks in the country.
Yeah, I mean, Thunder Valley will peel the sneakers off you if you're walking on it. I mean, it's just really great. We've been to Great Bend in Kansas last year, and that's or maybe it was 2 years ago. That's an amazing facility. I went to Ennis, Texas. I really like Tulsa as well.
I do too.
They're all great places. Some of them got great history. I think at Great Bend they ran like the 1950s Winter Nationals type stuff. It was really a really neat track.
Heck yeah. All right, man. Well, it was good talking to you. Hopefully,
thanks, Josh.
The next one goes a little better, and you're able to get that elusive 9.
Yeah, we're gonna try. We really have never made a pass at any kind of real boost, and so that's why we're gonna try dynoing this engine this year. And we've been using them basically for testing tunes, and I want to just be a little more ready next year. But
yeah,
we're not planning on changing much about the setup. So hopefully, we can get it together.
Just gotta get everything everything kind of working together. Sounds like.
Well, and that's another thing these events do too. I mean, you have 5 days to figure it out, and not if you want to win. If you want to win, you got to be great on day one. But it gives you so much time to figure out all the kinks in the car and the vehicle and your race program that I don't think you get going to something for one day. I mean, it's just not the same.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, man. Well, we're looking forward to that update.
Yep, and I'll just end with saying that Brent, Hunter, Nick, myself, we're becoming a great team. I'm sure proud of those guys, and not once working 10, 11, 12 at night did they ever be like, oh, let's just quit for the day. They just really want to go at it.
Heck yeah, that's what you got to have in a crew.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody just loves what they do.
Thank you for listening to the MitsuTimes podcast. Check out our Instagram and Facebook for daily updates. Get added to our list by going to MitsuTimes.org and clicking Submit a Slip. Thank you to all of our sponsors.